I have a question for you today. Have you ever said, no problem, and then immediately thought, this is in fact a problem? Or you say yes to something, and before the other person is even done talking, you're already trying to figure out how you're going to pull it off. Like your brain just opened 47 tabs, and you have to figure out how to organize them without giving up family time, friend time, or missing a priority. If you've ever opened up Google or chat and searched how to stop people pleasing or how to set boundaries without guilt, keep listening because this is for you. Because obviously I know you're not lazy and you're not dramatic. You're probably just carrying too much. And today we're going to talk about the cost of that. It's what I call PPT, the people pleasing tax, and how to start getting a refund, the refund you deserve. Welcome to the Lead with Spark podcast, the show where real women lead with authenticity, show up with presence, and live out their purpose. I'm Lynsey Mulder, speaker, C-suite executive, family gal, travel junkie, and a firm believer that your leadership starts from within. Around here, we go beyond the fluff. We talk about the real stuff no one teaches you in leadership training. Your values, your superpower strengths, boundaries to stop burnout, and how to quit being the chaos coordinator of your own life. Whether you're building a business, leading a team, or just trying to stop feeling stuck in the daily grind, this is your space to get clear, get aligned, and finally lead with confidence. So let's cut the noise and reconnect with the spark that makes you, you. Let's go get our spark on. I've been thinking about talking about this with you for the last several weeks. I caught myself in a spiral yesterday, and I realized that it was because of PPT, the people-pleasing tax. I want you to picture me sitting with you. Maybe you're on a walk, maybe you're driving right now, maybe you're home folding laundry. And if you're folding laundry, that's my least favorite thing to do. And I just want to say, you deserve a medal and a vacation, preferably a beach where nobody asks you what's for dinner. Okay, here's the deal. People-pleasing is one of those things that we as women do so naturally. We don't even call it people-pleasing. We call it being responsible, being professional, being helpful, being dependable, being a good leader, mom, or friend. But then one day you look up and you feel completely exhausted. You're like, wait a minute, is this just my personality, or am I paying for something that I didn't agree to? That's what we're unpacking today. Here is the people-pleasing tax. It's what you pay when your default setting is yes. Yes to the extra request. Yes to the last minute thing. Yes to the meeting or the favor. Agreeing to the can't you just request. And then when we do that, we have inadvertently said yes to the guilt. Yes to the extra pressure. Yes to keeping the peace, whether that's internally or externally. Yes to being burnt out. And I want to say this clearly. None of us do this because we're weak. Quite the opposite, actually. Most women who struggle with people-pleasing are high-capacity women. You can handle a lot, and you do handle a lot. I've had 4 kids. I've got grandkids now. I love to travel and plan trips. I've spent years leading huge teams in a corporate environment. I own my own business. I love to volunteer. I have an amazing group of friends that I love to not only spend time with, but I love to help. So many things to fill up my calendar, so many things to say yes to. So trust me when I tell you, people-pleasing isn't always soft. Sometimes it's a high-performing strategy. It's how capable women keep the wheels on the bus. But sometimes it feels like the bus is running over you. It can happen in a flash, too. One minute you feel like you have everything under control, and then the next minute you're frozen because there's simply too many things that need to be done, and you don't even know where to start. That's a sign of the people-pleasing tax. Let me make this real for you. For years, I did not realize that was what I was doing. I'm a strong person. I know how to say no. I set boundaries, but that is exactly what I was doing. PPT ruled my world. Here's what people-pleasing looks like for me. I would get pulled into a meeting that I didn't even need to be in, but I would go anyway because what if they think I'm not a team player? That's PPT. Somebody asked me to take something on temporarily, and suddenly it's 6 months later, and now I'm the unofficial owner. What the heck? That is huge people-pleasing tax. Or how about this one? I get a request at 4:30 p.m. and I answer it like it's an emergency, even though it's not. It just is someone else's urgency. And instead, I work on it until 6 o'clock at night into my evening time. That was me yesterday. I was asked to sit in on just one meeting just to give them confidence in what they were going to be presenting. And I am the one who left with 4 action items to a meeting that I didn't even need to be in. We think we're helping. We think we're showing up in the best way possible. In reality, it's PPT in disguise. Have you ever done this? Opened up your search browser and typed in boundaries at work or how to say no professionally. You already know that this is not just about time. It's also about the emotional weight, the peace that we feel in our body. Because it's not the task, it's the mental load that comes with it. The thinking about it, planning it, worrying about it, rehearsing how do we do it, worrying about how people react if we don't do it perfectly. That mental load is what creates emotional exhaustion. And that's the big one because it shows up as burnout. Burnout isn't always too much work. Sometimes burnout is too much emotional labor, creating emotional exhaustion. When we're overfunctioning or too much of saying, I'll just handle it, too much of, I don't want to disappoint anyone. That's why this links to burnout recovery, even if you don't feel burned out yet. And then you top it off and you get home. You finally sit down. You're done with your day. You have poured out all of your energy at work. And then someone says, hey, can you? And you literally feel your spirit leave your body. And if you're a mom or you've ever been the responsible one in your family, you know the classic, somebody needs something at 9 p.m. and they definitely knew about it at 9 a.m. And then you're standing there thinking, do I have boundaries or do I have a late night trip to Target? I have been there more times than I can even count. Your mind is probably now thinking of all the times that this has happened to you in the last week. So let's make sure that we know what this tax is actually costing you. It costs your time, obviously, but more importantly, it costs your energy. Not tired like I need a nap, tired energy like I don't even know what I want anymore. It costs your patience. You're snappy at people that you love, and then you feel guilty. And then you try to make up for it by doing even more, creating a cycle that is difficult to unwind. And it costs your confidence. This is a big one, because when you constantly override your own needs, your brain learns, my needs don't count. My calendar doesn't matter. My voice is negotiable. And that shows up in confidence in meetings. It shows up in your executive presence. And it shows up in how you communicate. I used to watch it happen all the time in the corporate world. Brilliant women with strong ideas would soften everything. They would say something like, oh, I'm not sure, but, or this might be a dumb question, or I know you're smarter than me in this area, but, or even when they're apologizing, sorry, can I just ask? And I would want to pause the entire meeting and be like, hold on. Why are we apologizing for competence? I want you to know that is the people-pleasing tax too. It makes you edit yourself. And then it costs you the thing I want you to hold onto dearly, your spark. That part of you that used to feel excited, creative, alive, it starts going quiet. I have to be honest, that makes me really sad. I don't want that to go quiet for you. Let's talk about the question women literally type into Google. Why do I feel responsible for everyone? Woo, that's a big one. Here are a few reasons, and I want you to just listen and notice what hits you. You were praised for being easy, helpful, or capable. You learn that tension is dangerous, so you become the peacekeeper. You've always been the strong one, and for so long, now it feels wrong to step back. Somewhere along the way, you confuse love with responsibility. People-pleasing is often a learned survival skill. Somewhere you learned it's safer to be agreeable than honest. It's safer to be helpful than too much. It's safer to say yes than deal with tension. And if you grew up being the responsible one, the high achiever, the peacekeeper, then of course you feel this deep pull of, why do I feel responsible for everyone? Because you've been practicing responsibility for your entire life. So your default becomes, if something needs done, you do it. If someone needs help, you fix it. If someone's uncomfortable, you smooth it out. And listen, I know that you are good at it. And that is why it's so hard to stop. But this is the moment where you shift from being the glue to being the leader of your life again. You can be kind and still have boundaries. You can be a great leader and still protect your energy. You can have executive presence without becoming a corporate robot. In fact, boundaries are part of executive presence because confident leaders don't overcommit and then quietly drown. They communicate clearly. Quick pause. If you're listening and thinking, okay, yes, this is me, I put a simple worksheet in the show notes called People Pleasing Tax Refund. It helps you spot where you're leaking energy and gives you a few scripts for boundaries at work without sounding rude. Grab it there in the show notes. All right, let's talk refunds and how to get the one that you deserve. This is the biggest shift I want you to make. You don't need to become a different person to stop people pleasing. You just need a different default response. Because the problem isn't your kindness. The problem is the auto yes that comes out before you've even given the cost of that yes a consideration. So I want to give you a simple tool that you can actually use in real life. It's 3 simple steps. This is what I use, and it's super easy to remember. Step 1, pause. When someone asks you for something, your new default is, let me check and get back to you. That's it. That pause is you protecting your life. Because the moment that you say yes out loud, you are in it. You are already managing expectations. You are already emotionally committed. So pause first. Take the extra moment that you need to protect yourself. This one pause is how you stop overfunctioning. Step 2, decide based on capacity, not guilt. Ask yourself, do I have capacity for this? Do I want to do this? Is this aligned with what matters right now? And if you're like, I don't really know what matters right now, that is also data. That's usually the sign that you've been living in reaction mode for too long. Make sure that the answer to those questions aligns with an overall yes. If it doesn't, gracefully move on to step 3, which is use a clean, simple sentence. This is where most women get stuck. How do I say no? You don't need a dramatic speech. You need one clean sentence. Something like, I cannot take that on right now, or that doesn't work for me, or I'm not available. Then stop talking. And if you're thinking, but that sounds harsh, here's a reframe. Clear is kind. Confusing is unkind. Because when you feel overwhelmed or you start to get short with people, then you start to feel guilty. A clear no is kinder than a resentful yes. I do want to pause and talk about guilt for just a minute. When you start setting boundaries, guilt often shows up like a smoke alarm. And here's the thing about smoke alarms. Sometimes they're warning you about a real fire, and sometimes you just need to change the battery. Guilt doesn't always mean that you're wrong. Sometimes guilt just means this is new. It's not comfortable yet. I'm trying something new and I have to get used to it and make it my new traditional norm. If your nervous system has learned that approval equals safety, then saying no will feel like danger, even when it's healthy. So you don't wait to feel confident. You start practicing it anyway. That's how you build confidence in meetings, confidence in leadership, confidence in your own voice, and the guilt slowly disappears. Now let's do 2 real-life scenarios that we find ourselves in all the time. The first scenario is, my boss asked me last minute, what do I say? I want you to try this. Respond with, I can do that, but it means something else has to move. What is my priority? That's not attitude, that's leadership. That's executive presence. It's also how you stop being the person who silently works late while everyone assumes that you're fine. If someone only likes working with you when you're overextending yourself, that's not connection, that's just access. When you set a boundary, sometimes people react, but not because you're wrong, because you're changing their access. So if you're afraid that your boss is going to be disappointed, yeah, he might. But that's just an emotion, and you're not responsible for other people's emotions, just your own boundaries. When someone says that to you, your response probably is, "Oh, I didn't realize that you had a higher priority." Think about how you would respond because that's how they will. Typically, we let our minds run crazy and we come up with things that just simply aren't true. So exercise your executive presence and use that line. I can do that, but I need to shift some priorities. Help me figure out which one is the highest priority. Okay, scenario 2. I'm the go-to person and I'm drowning. If you're the go-to person, you have to retrain people. Start saying, I can't own that, but I can point you in the right direction. Or say, I can help for 10 minutes, but I can't take it on. You're not being difficult, you're being sustainable. And sustainability is the goal. Because we're not just setting boundaries to be rebellious, we're setting boundaries for burnout recovery, for emotional exhaustion, and for your spark. If you take nothing else from this episode, take this. You are allowed to protect your energy. You're allowed to say no without explaining your whole life story. You are allowed to set boundaries without guilt, even if you feel guilty at first. Because guilt doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. Remember, it just means you're doing something new. So here's your challenge. This week, pick one place that you usually respond with an automatic yes. Just one. Then I want you to pause, decide based on capacity, and then use one clean sentence. And then notice what happens. I think you're going to feel something that you haven't felt in a while. Relief, clarity, and maybe a little spark. If this episode hit home for you, or if you're right now thinking of somebody else who is carrying everything on her shoulders, I want you to grab the worksheet in the show notes, forward her the episode, and share it with her also. You don't need to be less kind. You just need to be less available for things that drain you. Friend, your spark does not come back because you say yes to more things. Your spark comes back when you stop leaking your life force into things that aren't yours. Boundaries without guilt aren't selfish. They're sustainable. And honestly, they make you a better leader. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to protect your energy. And you're allowed to get that tax refund starting right now. I know this is new, and I know it's going to be uncomfortable, and that's okay. That's how we build behaviors that are sustainable and drive you to lead with spark. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for being here and for doing the work to lead yourself first. If this episode sparked something for you, take a second to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with another woman who's ready to own her leadership. And remember, the way you lead your life is the way you lead everything else. If you or your organization are looking for a speaker, an impactful workshop, or an executive coach, head over to lynseymoulder.com and let's connect. Keep showing up. Keep leading with spark. You got this. I'll see you next time.